Hi guys, hello and welcome to a small video I decided spontaneously to do. It's about the deal which was put forward seemingly by Israel towards Hamas. I have read this now in multiple news sources, and I have listened to the speech which was delivered yesterday, I think, from President Joe Biden, in which he explains the details. Like 3 stages and hostages get released. Dead and alive prisoners or detainees, which were not even there was a trial towards these Palestinian detainees, which then also get released. So there are also hostages. And in the next stage, then they withdrew from Gaza, the Israeli troops, and in between they also had to talk and make negotiation. So it is a developing thing if it comes to it at all. But it was delivered in a way from Biden, which like kind of I think they I mean the Raw cabinet decided on a ceasefire deal, but not publicly. But then the U.S. went public with it, and put then the ball kind of into Netanyahu's front yard. I don't know how to say this. So he has now more pressure to accept the deal, and also, so as he in this article also is written, right-wing factions in Benjamin Netanyahu's governing coalition could undermine a ceasefire deal outlined by U.S. President Joe Biden. However, opposition leader Yair Lapid said his party would support it. DW has more. What you need to know. Israeli opposition leader Lapid urges Netanyahu to heed Biden's Gaza deal. Netanyahu says no Gaza ceasefire until Hamas destroyed. Okay. Indonesia President-elect says he will send peacekeeping troops to Gaza if they are needed. Okay, this was this is live. Okay, 2 hours ago. I thought it's an article. Anyway, Egypt, Israel, US to reportedly discuss reopening Rafah crossing. I thought it is an article. As no, no, I don't want to link it. I would like to read more about this. Let me find the article. I think there's an article. Okay, here I could start the video here now, but let's read first. President Joe Biden on Friday detailed a three-phase deal proposed by Israel to Hamas militants that he says would lead to the release of the remaining hostages in Gaza, could end the grinding nearly 8 months old war or genocide. I would call it a genocide. It's not a war if one party is like a nuclear superpower in comparison, and the other one is an insurgent group. I mean, the differences in power are very stark. I mean, it's not a real war. I would not say it's not a war in comparison like Ukraine and Russia. They are more or less equal. I mean, the one has nuclear power, but they still have both a standing army. They have both territorial integrity. Mostly, I mean, but it's not. There's no comparison you can make between Ukraine and Gaza. Whether you now support Ukraine or Russia, it from both perspectives doesn't make any sense. Biden added that Hamas is no longer capable of carrying out another large-scale attack on Israel, as he urged Israel and Hamas to come to a deal to release the remaining hostages for an extended ceasefire. This is a very important thing, that he says that they are not any longer capable of carrying out another attack like October 7th. Democratic president, in remarks from the White House, called the proposal a roadmap to an enduring ceasefire and the release of all hostages. I think this could theoretically even guarantee that many people, if this would come to fruition and there would be an end of the genocide, it could help Biden very much to get elected in this year, because Trump will of course be against this. On the one side, maybe because he's pro-Israel and gets paid, or but on the other side, and more importantly, Biden is in favor of this. So Biden supports this, so Trump is against this. That makes sense for at least the American political system and for the presidents. So if if Biden wants to be re-elected and wants to have a higher chance of being re-elected, he should pursue this. And even if Netanyahu and Israel says no to this, he should then put much more pressure on Israel to accept this, so he can be the one who ends this war, brings the hostages back, and also get then plus points from people who are pro-Israel because he got the hostages back, and plus points, of course, from the Palestinian community because he ends the war. Of course, he doesn't care about the people. I think he doesn't care about the Palestinian people who get murdered every day, but he cares about his re-election chances. And if he gets this thing done before Trump gets into power, if Trump would be elected or re-elected, even both can be re-elected. He would of course try everything to, if it is not already completely finished, the process of peace in the Middle East, he will try to, he will support Israel unconditionally. So of course that's why Netanyahu is in favor of Trump winning the election. But if Biden wants to be re-elected, he should get this thing done as quickly as possible, so Trump cannot destroy it again, or has less. It is less likely that he destroys it again if it is already done. Biden said that the first phase of the proposed deal would last for 6 weeks, would include a full and complete ceasefire, a withdrawal from Israeli forces from all densely populated areas of Gaza, and the release of a number of hostages, including women, the elderly, and the wounded. In exchange for the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. It's called prisoners, but they're also hostages. Most of them are hostages, because most of them never had a fair trial, as far as I know. American hostages would be released at this stage, and remains of hostages who have been killed would be returned to their families. Humanitarian assistance would surge during this first phase, with 600 trucks being allowed into Gaza each day. I think that's also a very important point. All of this doesn't take away any of the guilt of President Biden and Netanyahu. And also, of course, the genocide case goes on, but the people would have. That's why I favor this. That's why I hope it comes to fruition, because it immediately eases the pain of the Palestinians at least a bit, and the process. Netanyahu would still have the possible arrest warrants, and the ICJ would also continue with its trial against Israel. The investigation trial. I'm not sure in what phase they are. The second phase would include the release of all remaining living hostages, including male soldiers in Israel, and Israeli forces would withdraw from Gaza. And as long as Hamas lives up to the commitments, the temporary ceasefire would become, in the words of the Israeli proposal, the cessation of hostilities permanently, Biden said. That's why I also think this is so important up here, that Lapid, the opposition leader, says he would help Prime Minister Netanyahu to stay in power if Ben Gvir and Smotrich would leave the coalition. The third stage calls for the start of a major reconstruction of Gaza, which faces decades of rebuilding from devastation caused by the war. I think Israel should pay for all of this, of course, because they destroyed the Gaza Strip, but of course they won't pay for this. unless something absolutely major happens in Israel, inside of Israel, they would never pay for this. But in parts, because I see the humanity of the Palestinians. They deserve, they need help and they deserve help, because we supported the genocide against them through delivering weapons to Israel. In this case, Germany and the US should pay for the devastation and the rebuilding efforts mostly, because they delivered the most weapons to Israel. I think 29% for Germany and 65% for the US. Meanwhile, congressional leaders on Friday invited Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu to deliver an address to the US Capitol. The invitation from House Speaker Mike Johnson, a Republican, and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, a Democrat, has been in the works for some time. So there is great concern, especially among the Democrat, about Israel pursuit of the war. No date for the speech was set. Biden acknowledged that keeping the Israeli proposal on track would be difficult, saying there were a number of details to negotiate to move from the first phase to the second. One roadblock to overcome during this first phase would involve the two sides agreeing on the. But there was I don't want to read through everything here, but at some point, Biden also addresses those in Israel who resist ending the war. Some members of the Netanyahu far-right coalition have opposed any deal that falls short of eradicating Hamas. They have called for an enduring occupation of Gaza. Now, I quote, they want to keep fighting for years, and the hostages are no priority to them, Biden said. I have urged leadership of Israel to stand behind this deal. So he says, continues, takes this deal, even if some parts of your coalition are against this. And Lapid, the leader of Lapid, urges Netanyahu to they also say, take the deal, I will support you if necessary with the opposition. So the opposition would keep him in power and guarantee that the Knesset also approves this deal. Abi Shmel in Beirut contributed to this report. Okay, I will keep it at this. I don't want to watch the speech itself. I will do it maybe later, if there is a real ceasefire at some point. Otherwise, I have a link in the description to the analysis of Hassan Abi from this speech. And I think he did a very good job. It's an hour-long video, so watch it if you're interested. Follow the news, and I hope for the best. Free Palestine.